Hello, I'm Dawn Stone, Animal Communicator and Pet Bereavement Counsellor, and I'd like to warmly welcome you to today's conversation about pet loss and the challenges that it brings. I'm delighted to be joined by Nina Dayal, a devoted pet parent and proud guardian to two gorgeous dogs. Nina, thank you so much for being here today and welcome.
Thank you, Dawn. Absolute joy, pleasure and privilege and a blessing to be here. It really is. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. It really matters.
Thank you. And I do appreciate you obviously finding the time. So again, I'm really looking forward to our conversation as well as we talk about, how grief can affect us, the challenges that brings and the help and support that's available for anybody navigating the loss of a beloved pet. It's just so important. So a little bit of background about me. I've been working professionally for over 20 years, helping animals and guardians to heal and transform. And I think in that time, I've literally helped hundreds of animals, cats, dogs, horses, across the board. And I initially came to pet bereavement counselling when I lost my beautiful sow dog, Milo, in September last year. Obviously, because I'm an animal communicator, he not only guided me when he was physically here, but he continues to guide me whilst he's in spirit. And obviously at the time I was really struggling with the loss, and his guidance was for me to look at pet bereavement counselling, which I did. And the journey that I've been on has been eye-opening, but also in a way sort of very rewarding as well. And that sort of led me as well to, because of the help that it gave me, I then wanted to offer this service to other people that are obviously, going through that loss, going through that heartache. In brief, pet bereavement counselling is a way to help people deal with those stages of grief and find ways for each individual, because we're all individuals, of how we process the grief, and to move forward, not move on. We don't want to be moving on and forgetting those memories. We want to be moving forward. So finding ways to help to process the grief, move forward, keep the memories going as well, because our animal companions, they're significant in our lives and they're deserving of care and understanding. Whether that loss has been recent or occurred some time ago, counselling can actually help individuals with their grief and find a way, like I say, to move forward whilst preserving the meaningful memories of their pet. So in brief, that's what Nina and I are going to talk about today. We're probably going to get a little controversial as well, which we quite like.
Always. Any conversation with ourselves, always a little bit.
Always. I mean, we've known each other a while, Nina, haven't we? And we always love our conversations about animals. And you've been an amazing support to me. Thank you for that.
Well, and those that don't know Dawn, there is no one that I know of that is more compassionate about animals than you, passionate about pets and, and all manner of those that we love, deeply love, and the compassion and the empathy absolutely runs through you. And I truly am a believer that you have come into my life for a reason. You've always been that go-to person if I wanted to have any conversation about my two little ones, and where that listening ear is not necessarily there everywhere else, but you've always given that full focus, that dedication, and you're always listening, and you always have some words of comfort or, brilliant remedies and holistic remedies. And you're always been the biggest supporter and giving that support and guidance to me. So I am really, really grateful, Dawn. But as I say, I think you've come into my life for a reason. Absolutely.
Thank you. And you've come into mine for a reason as well. So we're very privileged, I think, and grateful to have the connection with each other. So I wanted to delve a little deeper because I'll be honest, because when we decided a couple of weeks ago that we were going to do this conversation, because we have these type of conversations, and it was like, we should get it out there, we should record it, we should tell people, about what's going on. I've literally spoke to quite a lot of people over the last couple of weeks, and I've been asking them, sort of, it's a very vulnerable time, as we know, for people. And one of the questions was, why have you not reached out for support, from a counsellor? And the interesting points that were coming back, if we discuss a couple of them. See, to me, I feel that, and you'll know as well, Nina, there's so much emphasis at this time on mental health in the workplace. However, why is not compassionate leave included in that? And the amount of people that I have had conversations with, like I say, over the last couple of weeks, none of them were offered it. They were having to take, their own annual leave to get some respite and some care for themselves. And I think that needs to change. And also, I think the way that society views pet loss as well. I'd love to get your thoughts on what I've said.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I've been engaging with people the same, whether that's friends, family, clients, going down to the local co-op and speaking, so it's just that it's the same sentiment that's coming through. Number one, people don't know that there is a service that they can reach out. There are people like your good self that are trained to become those bereavement counsellors, and it's absolutely necessary at that point of vulnerability, that significant grief and loss, and trying to process that. And there's many tools available for when you're dealing with a human loss, but not the same empathy when you're dealing with a beloved loss. And the majority are saying, well, it's absolutely needed, and why don't we have it? And those that I spoke to, they were ready to give up their job if they weren't given some element of leave. And that's shocking, actually. But also, when we're looking at well-being and culture being a focus in the workplace, that's going to have a significant impact when you have people's morale, which is low, when you've got an individual that's gone through a long process of illness with their family pets. It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. It is. I mean, as you know, I was a caregiver to Milo for 6 months. And every day, you're thinking, is it going to be today? Yeah. Is it going to be today? So, even though, when he passed to spirit, I was ready for him to pass to spirit, if that makes sense. And yes, he was ready. He told me he was ready. But, it's such a vulnerable time for us. People who lose their animal companions, I believe very passionately and deeply, deserve the same compassion, the same space, and the same recognition in the workplace as anyone else who is grieving. And I want to change that. I really want to change that, so that it's recognised that people are actually losing a family member, and which some people, me included, it may be their only companion in life. I haven't got a partner or whatever. So I very much deal with things on my own. Obviously I've got the support of friends, which I'm obviously very grateful for. But I really do think it needs looking at. So, this is probably the controversial thing, but it needs looking at. It really does. People shouldn't have to be taking their valued annual leave, where they've been working hard and they deserve that annual leave. They shouldn't have to be taking that so that they can try and process the loss of a beloved pet.
Absolutely, Dawn. I couldn't agree with you more. And I've seen the effect that your process, and you were grieving before, blessed Milo passed on, and it's a deeply emotive journey, isn't it? And something has to be done. If we look at the population in the UK, 62% of households own a pet.
Yeah.
That's significant. And when
It
you
is.
look at those numbers, actually, that's 36.5 million.
Yeah,
How,
when you put it like
how
that,
are these
that's
voices being
huge.
ignored?
Yeah,
We're a
it's huge.
nation of pet lovers, dog lovers, cat lovers, animal lovers. How can that be true?
I know.
How can it be just completely dismissed in a workplace environment?
Exactly. Yeah.
Workplaces are inviting our pets now into the work office, the spaces.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you, Dawn. The question is, how do we now start this campaign?
Absolutely, which we need to, and which we'll get into, I think, at the end, because I really want to invite people that have
Yes.
watched it, both, people that are employed, employers as well, because there may be employers out there that
Absolutely.
actually do give compassionate leave. And I would love to hear from those people. I want to get the whole picture. Well, we both do, obviously. And the other thing is there's so many myths around the loss of a pet. A couple of examples are, do other pets in the household suffer? And the myth is, no, of course they don't. Well, actually they do. And I've got living proof of that with my gorgeous girl, Millie. I saw it in her. She knew that he'd passed. She was there when he passed. And for, if I say weeks, I'm probably talking months. I could see that she was lost. He was all she ever knew. And obviously, again, because I can communicate with Millie, what she actually said, and she sent it to me and my mentor, that she was missing him, but she wasn't missing out. Which actually did my heart good, because what that meant was, of course, she's missing him. He was all she ever knew, but she wasn't missing out on things because I was keeping her routine as, normal as I could, making sure she was exercised, making sure she was enjoying her food, making sure that, she was having fun. But she missed him for a long time, So to me, that myth goes totally out the window. Of course they do, They have their own special bond, like we have our own special bond.
It's beautiful. But they're not a void that can be just replaced. That language, when you hear that language, Dawn, I mean, I hear it and it upsets me, but I know it's just possibly one of the worst things you can ever hear.
I agree.
When you're going through that period.
I agree. Yeah. And I had it said to me, Nina, like within the first week, oh, you're going to get another dog. What? Of course I'm not, my heart's breaking, but it doesn't mean to say that in the future I won't get another dog, but I'm certainly not looking to replace Milo because he has his own history and his own spirituality that he still brings to my life every day. And I will honour that. But like I say, going forward, not at the moment, even now, 10 months down the line, it's not something that's priority to me. And Millie's quite happy with that. She meets a couple of doggy friends that she has a play with, and she's quite satisfied with that. So she's not sort of saying to me, oh, we need to get another dog. And that's fine. Again, I'm grateful that I could get that information from Millie.
You also, like, the gift that you have to communicate, and I often draw upon that, but just reflecting back on that, the language, the appropriate language, Dawn.
Yeah.
What would you say? I mean, in a moment of, when you're going through that grieving process, sometimes it's very difficult from the outside, a third party looking in and trying to provide that support of comfort. People try their best, and often the language that comes out is not necessarily appropriate. What would you say is appropriate language?
Okay, so there's two sides. There's me as a friend and there's me as a counsellor. So me as a friend would want to hug you and say, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. But I would add, how are you feeling? Is there anything I can do to help, etc., etc.? From a counselling point of view, that's viewed really as like a dead end question because it's not actually a question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
What we look to do as a counsellor is, say things like, my heart goes out to you. I can understand what you're going through, but it's you that is going through that loss at the moment. Therefore, you are the most important person at the moment. We don't want to come across as condescending, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference between trying to give support. But a little example I can give you, it's got to be about a month ago now. I was out walking with my little Millie and we bumped into somebody that we know. And she called me over and shared with me that she'd lost her dog a couple of days previously, which, obviously it was awful for her. And the first thing that came to mind was to ask her, are you getting any rest? And she sort of looked at me and went, well, not really. She's a caregiver to her husband, so she doesn't have that time for herself, if that makes sense. And then I asked her, do you have a support network around you? And there was somebody family-wise that, that she could sort of talk to. But again, I was getting the impression that she couldn't go deep with this family member because although they understood about loss, they didn't understand deep enough about how it was affecting her.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment, although I didn't sort of take the grief away, I got her to focus on her.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And then the next thing that I said to her was, have you thought about creating a memory box? And she looked at me and I could just see this smile come over her. And she said, that's a wonderful idea. I would never have thought of that. Anyway, lo and behold, literally a couple of days ago, I bumped into her again. And the first thing she said was, thank you for suggesting that memory box. It's really helped. And it's like, it's so heartwarming and just to have supported her in that moment. I wasn't there to sell her my services. I was there to genuinely try and give in that moment some focus, It wouldn't have taken the whole grief away, couldn't it? Of course it wouldn't have. But it just gave her that focus, and it's something that I did. I've got my memory box in the corner here, and I've got a tree and things like that. It just moves the focus as you're going through, moving forward, to place that grief somewhere. And you can revisit then and remember the good times and, in the box, put things like their favourite toys and well, it's so important as well to, especially like with a dog in the home and we've got the feed bowl down and we've got their beds and the blankets. If you leave them down, it's just a continual reminder every day and you just continue to just keep going round in circles. So we're actually honouring them, I think, by creating a memory box or a tree because saying, we're always going to remember you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful, beautiful idea. And I do remember you doing that for Milo and I actually, this time last year when you're going through the grieving process before Milo passed and I was very conscious about the language that I was using. Really conscious about it because it's important that we provide that support, but understand how our words have a significant impact on that listening ear.
And I think it's educating people, isn't it? People have the best intentions, of course they do.
They do.
But, the last thing I needed in that first week was somebody saying to me, are you going to get another dog?
Yes.
And then to follow it up with, I know somebody who has got to give up a dog. It's like, it puts you in an even more difficult situation that it's like, now I've got to say, I can't help with the rescue dog. Do you know what I mean? It's just, and I think probably people that are genuine pet lovers are
Yes.
probably more conscious of
Yes.
the words that they use.
I think
But-
so. I think
but
you're right there.
Yeah, for
Certainly.
people that,
And there's a commonality of, dog owners in particular, I would say, because we will talk to them. We'll talk to strangers. We'll approach them as soon as they have a dog. There's a connection. And, as you know, you and I both do the same. We're constantly every single day reaching out and communicating with dog owners. And yeah, there is that level of empathy and sympathy when you're going through that process, and you're very conscious, particularly if you know, for instance, you see an owner normally with 2 dogs and now they're only walking 1.
yeah. And funnily enough, I saw a gentleman yesterday with just 1 dog, and I've always seen him with 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, ow,
Yeah.
ow.
Yeah.
And your heart goes out to these people, of course.
Absolutely. You feel it. You absolutely
You
feel
do
it.
feel it. You
But in those moments, having those discussions with strangers really helps, provides that comfort,
do. It does.
because it's the right language being used.
Yeah. And it was so lovely to bump into that lady a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And just that simple suggestion helped her greatly.
Yeah,
And like I say, it was the first thing that she said to me, how it had helped. So right place, right time.
Right place, right time indeed. And Dawn, the wonderful, wonderful, course that you went through, and you qualified as a bereavement counsellor. But I'd be really interested to hear that. What inspired you to become a bereavement counsellor? And I expect you're going to say you would have absolutely needed and cherished if that was out there and available to you before and after you were going through that process.
Yeah.
But give us a bit more information in relation to what inspired you.
Okay. So I think if you'd have asked me the same question 2 or 3 years ago, I'd have gone, absolutely not. It's not something that I'm even thinking about. But it was Milo. I have to put it down to the boy. When I was grieving, and obviously, he saw my tears, and his guidance and his message to me was, look at grief counselling, look at pet bereavement counselling. And that was how I got into it. It is as simple as that. The boy guided me to do it. And like I say, it helped me, and it's a way that I can now help other people, which he cheers me on about every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's such a blessing, because I was very fortunate to have Milo in my life. He
You
was
did.
such a strong personality, and he did actually rule your life, Dawn.
He did.
Your
Yeah.
life was not he very much absolutely focused on you, absolutely adored you, and he was very central in everything that you did. And many a time he would come on the webinars, the conversations, etc., and I would feel the force, and I still do. But just only moments before we were going and recording, it felt like the energy levels just went crazy, and I felt that was Milo.
Oh yeah, he sent everything crazy, didn't he? The 2 of us each on the screens and all sorts of things, and we're like, Milo's here, absolutely.
It's such a wonderful gift, and I can absolutely understand why you've gone down this path. And I truly believe, and having known you for so many years now, I feel that this is your absolute true purpose and calling in life. I mean, there is no better person, in my view, that could do this and offer that support. And there is absolutely no one else that I would run to if I needed that support and guidance.
Thank you. I think one of the other things as well, if I just bring in animal communication here, when I'm doing animal communication, it can actually help with grief as well, because some of the questions that guardians are contemplating and mainly feeling guilty about, which they have no reason to feel guilty about, because trust me, our animals don't even know what the word guilty means,
Yeah.
Questions like, was my animal in pain at the end? Are they okay now? Will I see them again? So, if I was just a pet bereavement counsellor, I say just, I don't mean just, as a
No, no.
I wouldn't be able
You
to
wouldn't.
answer those questions.
No,
But as an
no.
animal communicator, and my passion is communicating with animals in spirit, I can answer those questions because I can ask the animals.
Yeah.
It's like I get asked as well. Couple of examples. There was a lady that I communicated with her dog in spirits about a month or so ago, and she was debating as to whether to get another dog or not. She wasn't so sure. The other family members were wanting to, but at this point I think it's important that everybody's on the same page, and she did get there eventually. So I asked her dog in spirit, is it okay? Well, he laughed, basically, because he's like, why would I not want her to be happy? Why would I not want her to give another dog the beautiful life that she gave me? And it changed that woman's life. I'll be honest with you.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Really is.
So, there are things, even though I'm doing the pet bereavement counselling, I can actually help with so much more with the animal communication as well. So I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful to be able to do that. So yeah, it's wonderful. It is wonderful. And the animals, oh my goodness me. I mean, animals living are so wise, but an animal in spirit, wow, they have just so much guidance to give us, so much wisdom. Honestly, it blows me away. I've been doing it a long, long time, but they still blow me away. My greatest teachers, the animals themselves.
Absolutely. Well, and you're a bit like Dr. Dolittle, I expect. Like everyone's following you. You're talking to everyone, whether they're in the reality, in the physical form, or the spiritual form. And I just find that incredible. And you have the birds that are coming to you. Your little.
Oh, I know. I've had a robin fly in the house 4 times now, and I know who it is. He's just causing mischief. I mean, who gets a robin to fly in the house 4 times? It is weird.
It is, and I love listening to you and talking to you about your, what's happened today moments with some random animal or an animal or pet that So, no, it's such a wonderful, beautiful gift that you have, Dawn, and I really believe that it's there now to be shared with the rest of the world now, isn't it? And you've always been so giving, just giving to anyone that comes down your path, and now you can offer this service is just incredible.
Yeah.
Really.
The other thing which we spoke about previously was you're as I am a great believer in like a soul contract.
Yes. Well, I just feel that everyone, whether it's your pet, people, they're all coming into your life for a reason. But I do believe that our companions choose us, and they come at the appropriate time when that window is open, and they come to serve that purpose. And I truly believe in that, and they know. And I guess, that's why our animals and their lives are shorter than human lives, because they're there to serve that specific purpose.
Yeah. Take us on a journey as well, fulfill something that needs fulfilling in our life at that time. And I'm totally 100% behind you.
Yeah.
They choose us. They definitely do.
Your Milo certainly chose you.
He chose me when he was 4 weeks old, bless him.
I think he was your guardian. Just remind me that the time when he chose you, Dawn, because that was amazing.
Honestly. Well, I went to see them. Obviously, the puppies were young at the time. They were only 4 weeks, and he was one of 6 boys. I wanted a boy. I'll share a little personal. I always said the next dog that I wanted in my life, the film The Mask?
Yes.
With a Jack Russell Milo. I was like, I want a dog like that.
Yeah.
So when I went to see these puppies, they were all sort of jumping at the front, and this gorgeous tan and white Jack Russell sat back and gave me the side eye. And I was like, it's you, isn't it? So anyway, I picked him up and said, do you want to come home with me when you can? He raised his head in the air and he howled. And I mean, and then he just licked my face. And I'm like, well, that's sealed then. I'll be back for you in however long it was, 5 weeks or whatever. But yeah, he was like, you're going to choose me. You know, you're going to choose me. And of course I did.
Yeah, he chose you.
Yeah.
He chose you.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was your guardian. I
Yes.
do
And
actually believe that.
my guardian and my opinionated companion, because trust me, he had opinions on everything, which I'm very grateful for because he's guided me tremendously. And like I say, he still continues to.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky.
I think just, you know, that journey that you've been on for, and it's incredible talking to you today and knowing where you were this time last year.
Yeah.
And it's not because grief has gone away.
No.
Processed it. You've moved forward.
Yeah.
Talk about that language and that journey and that process.
Yeah, I think as well, what people need to realise is, although we probably look at grief as an emotional thing, you know, so we get angry, we get frustrated, we feel guilty, we feel sad. It affects our physical side as well. You know, people, and it's, you know, being scientifically reported. But again, you know, if we're going to be controversial, I think GPs and that side of things need to be more aware that, you know, when somebody comes to them because they've got digestive problems or, you know, they've got slight heart problems,
Can't sleep. Yeah.
can't sleep, fatigue,
Yeah.
things like that. I wonder if they ever get asked, have you lost anybody recently?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, it's not just the emotional side that we have to deal with. And if you look at the, you know, behind grief counselling, I mean, it's huge. You know, it's not just like a week's course. It's huge.
No.
You know, so many different things to cover. But there are roughly 7 stages of grief, and they're sort of what we call non-linear. So you may go through stage 1 and then 3 and then 5 and then go back to 2. And I might, you know, start at 7 and then go to 1. So it is down to the individual, you know, and like I say, finding those ways to move forwards again, but preserving the memory. Why would we want to not remember somebody that we truly, truly loved? Of course we do. So, you know, what I would say to people is don't aim to forget, aim to move forward and remember, because it's important that we remember our beloved pets. It really is, because, you know, when we can work through those stages and start to see light at the end of the tunnel, and we remember those memories where they made us laugh and they got us frustrated and every other emotion that you can think of. Oh my goodness me, it's such a joy. You know, I'm at that stage now, where it's a joy to remember him. You know, if we would have been having this conversation 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to have got through this conversation because I'd have just been an absolute wreck, you know. And I think it goes back again, which, you know, I think is important about our conversation today. It has to start with the workplace.
Yeah.
It has to start with how society views somebody that has lost a pet. We don't get over it.
We never get over it. And, you
No.
know, it's wonderful to see people, the high profile people. And, you know, I often talk about Lewis Hamilton, you know,
Yes,
fan of F1.
please do share.
Lewis, at the same time as your Milo passing over, Lewis lost his beloved bulldog Roscoe, and Roscoe was this wonderful character. He's got his own, well, he had his own Instagram page, over 1 million followers, and he was ultimately the F1 mascot. And that boy was his life. That was his life, you know. And so you see this fabulous a sportsman, you know, is put under incredible pressure, but you saw that other side of him and that grief and those emotions and those processes. And I expect that Lewis has been given all manner of support, including
Let's
counselling
hope so.
therapy around that. But it was such a significant impact. But I thought on a global scale, it really shone a spotlight in terms of pet grief and that significant loss. And it was a significant loss for Lewis, and he still talks about
Yeah.
it. And but the fans rallied around with their comfort and the support, and now, you know, they're in the crowds with their little Roscoe mascots.
Oh, wow.
I remember on the last not long ago, and one was thrown at Lewis, and he picked it up, and you could just, you know, he's just adorable. You know,
Yeah.
he's reflecting on those memories, not forgetting, but moving forward and reflecting on those. And I think people that are doing that and putting a focus and spotlight, it's just an incredible point that we need to make those changes within our workplace as well, because
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, it's a significant impact. It's affecting morale. It's affecting the well-being of the workforce, and we really want to provide that support.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, basically, uh, to sum up, you know, if any of what Nina and I have delved in today resonates with you, please do get in touch. Okay. We have to move this forward. We have to start some form of campaign. I don't know how to start that. So if there is anybody out there that can help, please get in touch, because I think it's important. Really, really important. All my contact details are on my Facebook page currently. I'm in the process of rebuilding my website, but if you search for Dawnstone Animal Empath, you'll find me. And I have nothing else to contribute, because I think we've covered some
We've
beautiful...
covered a lot of
We've
important topics
covered
there,
a
and Dawn, you're
lot.
just incredible. Passion
Oh, thank
is so infection. You could just see it coming through. And
Oh, thank
every time we talk about our animals, our faces light
it
up. We're
does.
always smiling. There's never, but even in the sadness, and we've cried together, we have been really open and vulnerable about that. And
Yeah.
we need people to support each other when we're going through those processes. It's really, that human connection is such an important point in what we do.
It is. And the important thing is, even if you're not an animal lover, okay, be aware of how animal lovers
Yeah.
are actually feeling and what they're actually going through. Please don't dismiss it.
Don't dismiss it.
Don't dismiss it. Don't say, oh, you're going to get another dog. Just like
Because
say,
those words really hurt, and they remain.
they do hurt.
They really remain with you, and that might be a dismissive employee, dismissive family member, or a colleague. Those words actually remain with you.
They do. They do. Well, I can't thank you enough. It's been lovely to see you again, and for us to have this quite in-depth and a little controversial, but I like it. I like it a lot.
We do.
Conversation, and I just hope that it reaches people that it needs to reach. And like I say, if any of this resonates with you, or you want Nina and I to discuss other topics, because we have other topics as well, then please do get in touch. We would be forever grateful, and I would be forever grateful of your support.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.